Hello. It's a real privilege to be able to share some time with you to discuss the topic of aging healthfully. So, as we age, we want to age healthfully. That's an expression that kind of says that you're going to grow to a ripe old age and that you're going to do it without developing chronic diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, sleep apnea, obesity. It also implies that you're not going to have cognitive decline or mental decline. Your mood is going to be good, minimize depression, and you'll be able to use your joints in a good way. So I'm going to describe some techniques that revolve around nutrition, what we put in our bodies, movement and exercise, what our goals should be, a focus on quitting smoking, and then also how to screen for high blood pressure and sleep apnea and other things that, if treated early, can really prevent chronic disease. So studies show that if you live a favorable lifestyle, you make good choices based on what I'm going to say in this lecture, that you'll have a 50% lower risk of coronary artery disease. And that's very relevant because the leading killer in men and women is coronary artery disease. So if you can cut that risk in half of the leading killer, that will be a good thing. Now, I'm not suggesting you turn your life on a dime and give up everything that you're currently doing, but the goal of this lecture is to offer some substitutions, alternatives for the current way things are being done to try to maybe improve what we call your trajectory. So let's do this illustration. Let's look back at yourself maybe 2 years ago. Let's look at your body weight, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your mood, how you feel, 2 years ago versus now. Are all those things in a good place, or are they getting a little bit worse? So if you think that maybe from 2 years to now, all these things are increasing, blood pressure, body weight, how you feel, not in a good way, then you have to think, well, what's going to happen 2 years from now, and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now? Because if you don't make a change, you'll continue on the current trajectory that you're on. So if we can make some changes, additions, lifestyle changes, substitutions, then potentially we can change your trajectory and you can age healthfully. So if you look at this bottom right picture here, there's two paths we can follow. We can follow the path that everybody's on. And unfortunately that's not a good path. The CDC says by 2032 that 50% of Americans will be obese. So 1 in 2 Americans will be obese. So what I'm offering here is maybe to veer off this common path, make some changes in order to change your trajectory. I want to focus on nutrition. Now, let's think of our bodies as a car engine. And the fuel that we put in it will decide how that car engine runs, but not only how it runs, but will it last? And so if we put in what's in this first picture, which is the processed food, the fast food. So what we call this is ultra processed, low nutrient, high fat, high sugar, high salt food. And this food makes you hungry. It makes you crave. It makes you addicted. It makes you eat too much. And the marketing is targeted at you and your families to buy and eat more. But I want to tell you that that's driven by money, not by what's best for you. Now, putting that in your body versus the other picture, which is vitamins, nutrients, good sources of fat, antioxidants that prevent cancer. If we put this raw ingredients in, we end up with an engine that runs better, and we eat good to feel good. So actually our mood will increase. Our energy will increase. Our perspective on life will improve. So the goal today is to eat less processed food and focus on real food. Now, I want to show you how to do that. I don't just want to say it. I want to show you what you can do. Now, before I get into the great, tasty, beautiful alternatives to what we're currently doing, first I have to show you the problem with the food that we're being fed as a nation currently. So the data is very clear. if you have fast food 3 times a week, your risk of dying of coronary heart disease goes up by 50%. So that's the leading killer in men and women, and it increases your risk of 50%. So my goal today is to tell you, whatever fast food you're eating, try to minimize it. Try to cut back. If you do 5 times a week, cut it back to 3. There will be a benefit. But the goal is to move to real food. Those who eat fast food have a 50% increased risk of depression. Now, we all know life is about quality, not necessary quantity. We like quality and quantity. But if you don't feel good, so what is depression? Depression is a loss of interest. Depression is poor mood, unhappiness, lethargy, and tiredness. So you're 50% more likely to feel depressed if you eat this food. Now, one last piece before we move on to the good food. If I can convince you of one thing today, it's to not waste your calories on soft drinks. And it's because the sugar is hidden in these drinks and you may not even know it's there. So I want to do an illustration. Let's picture you pour a cup of coffee. Would you ever put in 10 teaspoons of sugar in 1 cup of coffee? Just picture yourself doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The answer is no. You never would. But that's what's in 1 can of your soda pop. So if you turn the label around and you look at the grams of sugar, it will say 78, for example, with Mountain Dew. Well, that divided by 4 is how many teaspoons of sugar in that 1 Mountain Dew. And here's what happens. You drink this liquid. It goes in your stomach and it is immediately absorbed. So you get a higher blood sugar level, and your pancreas releases insulin, which tells that sugar to be stored as fat to get it out of your blood, because high blood sugar is dangerous. So what I'm telling you is that every sip of juices, soda, anything with sugar in it is going to be stored directly as fat. Unless you're running a marathon, you're not going to burn off that sugar spike. And the goal is to get rid of it. And so what's your alternative? Big glass ice cold water with squeezed lemon in it. Tea, coffee, flavored seltzers that are diet. Diet drinks I'm okay with because I think they're better than the alternative. I'll tell you though that the one negative to diet drinks is that your brain feels sweetness, you may crave more sweets. So just be cautious with that. But if you really need a sweet drink, a diet drink is better than one that's full of sugar. And I know we think apple juice and orange juice and cranberry juice are healthy, but they're not. I want you to get those antioxidants and phytochemicals from the real fruit. I don't want you to get them from a juice that has added sugar. So let's take orange juice, for example. You think you're being healthy having orange juice for breakfast, but there's 4 teaspoons of sugar in 1 cup of orange juice. So rather see you eat an orange where that sugar is wrapped up in fiber. So I gave you the illustration where you drink soda and you get an instant blood sugar spike. If you eat an orange, however, that sugar is wrapped up in the fiber of the fruit. And your stomach and your small intestine have to slowly pull out that sugar, and they don't have as high of what we call a glycemic index, meaning you don't get that sugar spike, and it's able to be burned off rather than stored. And I also want to give you one more tidbit. If you're hungry at night and you need a snack, pour a big glass of ice cold water and put in a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar has been known for thousands of years to cure all kinds of ailments. It can help with bloating, and it has some potential benefits with all aspects of your health. But one thing I've noticed is it gives you satiety. There's a lot of bite to it, a lot of grit, and it fills your stomach with volume. And it's almost like you're eating a meal. So it's nighttime, you had dinner, and you don't want to snack before bed because you're trying to lose weight. Pour a big glass of water, lots of ice cubes, teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and sip on that. All right, finally, you can stop being the Debbie Downer and move on to the good part of the lecture, which is what can you do? Now, what could I tell you that could be more valuable than a 46% increased chance for you to age healthfully? So that means that you'll go past 70 years, you won't have chronic conditions, that you won't have mental cognitive decline, and that you'll be able to use your body and your joints. You're 46% more likely to do that if you follow this diet, which is more of a lifestyle than a diet. You're 46% more likely to have successful, healthy aging versus if you eat what I had in the first couple slides. And also a third less likely to develop heart disease. 1/3. That's about the benefit you get from cholesterol medicines and high blood pressure medicines. So let's take a look at this diet. And by the way, on average, with the Mediterranean diet, you'll lose 6 to 20 pounds per year. May not sound amazing, but multiply that by, hey, 5 years down the road, you could be multiple pounds down. So look at this triangle. The bottom of the triangle is what you eat most. Top of the triangle is what you eat less. Vegetables, fruits, and grains that are whole wheat. So when you buy bread, look for the first ingredient to be wheat. And the reason is when they take grain, they mill it and they make flour. And when they keep milling it, it has a very high surface area, it's absorbed very fast, and it has a high glycemic index. But wheat flour, like I said earlier, it's not milled as much, and you're able to slowly pull out the nutrients and calories in it, and you don't get that spike. Fruits and veggies, I'm going to discuss at length. And your major source of oil or fat should be olive oil. So the Mediterranean diet was based on the fact that they looked at multiple nations, and they found that people in these nations, they lived longer. They didn't have as many heart attacks. They aged better. And so what's in common here? Well, olive oil is one of the major things that's in common in all these nations. So extra virgin olive oil, pure olive oil, there's a misconception that you can't fry with olive oil because the smoking point isn't high enough. But you don't want to fry with extra virgin olive oil. But if you buy some pure olive oil, which is actually cheaper than extra virgin olive oil, you can fry with that. And it will offer you the benefits of avoiding the vegetable oils, which have found to be unhealthy, and the butter. So the goal of this diet is to eliminate butter and use olive oil as your source of fat. And I promise you, it's delicious. Drizzled on your salad, on your food, on your roasted vegetables, wherever you use other kinds of fats, olive oil is a great option. Now, protein, we need protein to build muscle and to let our tissues work. The source of protein in the Mediterranean diet is chicken and fish. And the fish that are best are salmon. I know you might be saying salmon is expensive, but if you go to the frozen food section, you could get half-pound portions of salmon for maybe $9, $10 a pound. So that means you could feed 4 people for $5 a person. And if you put that over a plate of roasted vegetables or quinoa or a healthy wheat-based grain, it can be a very affordable dinner. And let's say you just do that once a week. That's one less day that you're having processed food. And it's a day where your family's together, you're sitting, and you're getting the social benefit of preparing that meal together and eating it. And it goes well beyond just the pure nutrition. In fact, when you plan your meals for the week and you go to the grocery store and you prepare the meal, this counts towards your activity goals, believe it or not, which we'll talk about later. Now, you can have some dairy with this diet, so you can have really tasty cheeses. You could cut up some cheddar, you could cut up some manchego, goat cheese, feta cheese, and snack on that a little bit. It's a great source of calcium, and it is a piece of this Mediterranean diet. And then you really less often want to have your meats and sweets. So red meat is okay, but it shouldn't be like a couple times a week. Maybe 2 times a month, maybe once a week. Do it on your social day when your family's together. In some cultures, they have a family day on Friday, like in some Muslim cultures. In some Jewish cultures, it's Saturday, and in Christian cultures, it's Sunday. Have that day that's where you have your decadent meat, maybe your lamb chop or your red meat. So let's look. I want you to be able to make some meals and say, well, what am I supposed to make? Well, I encourage you to use YouTube, to use Google, to buy a book on Amazon, a recipe book, and come up with some ideas. So for veggies, you take a baking sheet, you put down tinfoil, put some olive oil in the tinfoil, and then cut up a bunch of veggies, right? Collard greens, zucchini, eggplant, peppers, artichokes, sweet potatoes, root vegetables. I personally like to take carrots, sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, chop it up, throw it on a baking sheet, drizzle it with olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic, or Mrs. Dash or something along those lines. Put it in the oven at 400 for a half hour. And now that will be the base of your plate. We want half of your plate to be veggies. So put that on the plate and then put your protein on top, and you get what you see at the bottom of this image, which is, just a filling, nutritious, unprocessed meal. Again, we use olive oil, but avocados are a good source of fat. You can take a piece of wheat bread, mash up an avocado, squeeze a lemon in it, salt, pepper, and you have avocado toast. Delicious. Nuts are an amazing superfood that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Salmon, halibut, cod, sardines, walnuts. Look for it frozen. If you buy frozen, it will not go to waste. Frozen food will be ready for you whenever you're ready to cook it. Same with canned. For your protein, your beans, your lentils, your chickpeas, your tofu, your kidney beans, these can be in a can and they will last for years. The key thing with the canned is you want to rinse it because it has a very high sodium count. If you put it in a strainer and you rinse it, you will get out a lot of the sodium. So what I'll do is I'll take maybe a can of chickpeas, drain it, pat them dry, and then I'll just saute them in a saute pan to give them a little crisp, or I'll bake them with my roasted veggies, and it's a great source of soluble fiber. So soluble fiber is something that will decrease your risk of colon cancer. The third leading cause of cancer in this nation is colon cancer, and soluble fiber will help prevent the secondary bile acids from causing cancer in your colon. So we want a good source of soluble fiber, and that comes in these beans, lentils, chickpeas, cannelli beans, oats, things like that. Our whole grains, like I said, look for whole wheat as your first ingredient. Now, things like quinoa, barley, bulgur wheat, they used to be complicated, but now you can buy a bag of quinoa, rip off the top, put it in a saucepan, add water, and it's done. Now you put that quinoa on your plate, maybe you spice it up with a little parsley or something along those lines, and you have a very unprocessed meal. Now, oatmeal is a little tricky. If you buy a boxed oatmeal and you pour it in your bowl, you'll see a bunch of powder come out after the oats, and that's pure sugar. So you want to actually buy the can of, steel oats or pure oats, add some water, and if you want to sweeten it, maybe a touch of brown sugar, a little bit of honey, a Splenda packet, which is what I do to try to get no sugar in that situation. But the oatmeal will be a great source of soluble fiber, and soluble fiber, see what happens is your liver makes bile to digest fat and other things. And it's made from LDL cholesterol, so the bad cholesterol makes up bile. Well, bile is bound by soluble fiber and pulled out and goes in the toilet when you have a bowel movement. Then you have to make more bile, and to do that you use more cholesterol. So soluble fiber not only decreases the risk of cancer, but it also decreases your cholesterol. And then lots of fruits. Peaches are delicious. Cherries, apricots, berries. Pears, cut up a pear and put it on your salad or whatever. Delicious. Lots of antioxidants, vitamins, and nutrients. All right, now you're in the grocery store. How can you do it safely? How can you get the best product in the grocery store? Well, first of all, start in the perimeter. Everything in the middle of the store is full of hydrogenated fats that cause cancer and have been shown to be horrible for us humans. But if you go in the perimeter, that's where your fresh produce is, your meats, your dairy. Load up on veggies and buy frozen. If they're frozen, they won't go bad. Your canned fruits, make sure you drain them and look for lower sodium options. And when you buy products, make sure they don't have a lot of sauces or seasonings that are full of sugar. So you look at the label, and if it says added sugar, remember that 4 grams is a teaspoon. So if it said 15 grams of added sugar, that's almost 4 teaspoons of sugar. So if you're going to pick up a yogurt and it's got like purple jelly on the bottom of the yogurt, that's high fructose corn syrup, and if it says 15 added grams of sugar, just remember that's like 4 teaspoons of sugar. That's not what you want. The 2 foods most associated with long-term weight loss are nuts and yogurt. So I recommend you look for a Greek yogurt with minimal added sugar. Let's say there's 4 brands there. Pick the one with the least added sugar, and sprinkle some granola on it or berries, and that will be a great, healthy, unprocessed breakfast that gives you the benefit of a yogurt. Also, I want to mention this phone number at the bottom here. Darren is a great man who really wants to help the community, and I think it's on Wednesdays they offer free produce. So just give this number a call and he'll tell you what he has. And also avoid eating foods that your great grandmother wouldn't recognize. The fruit roll-up, the Teddy Graham, the circus peanut. These are not things that we're made to eat. And we want to go back to basics with unprocessed food. Now, I love this slide. This is, some of my favorite foods is superfoods, foods that are here for our benefit. Garlic. Garlic is tremendously beneficial. It's been shown to decrease your LDL, have anti-cancer properties, maybe even your blood pressure. The only adverse effect is it causes social problems because it gives you bad breath. But no, my point is that you want to have about 2 garlic cloves in your diet a day, and the way you do that is you put your olive oil in your saucepan, you grind up the garlic because you need to grind up or smash the garlic for the dinins to be active, which are the beneficial compound. And you saute the garlic in olive oil, and that will give flavor to your dish, and it will give you all those benefits. Now, nuts in the upper right. Walnuts, for example, are full of alpha-linoleic acid, ALA, and that gets converted to the omega-3 that's in fish. And walnuts are really the best nut for that. Now, remember, nuts are loaded with fat, but it's good, healthy fat. But you have to do portion size. So what is the portion size? It should fill the palm of your hand, which is about 3 ounces. 3 ounces of nuts will give you satiety. So instead of eating a Teddy Graham, which is full of sugar, releasing insulin, which tells your brain to be hungrier, the nuts will actually cause satiety, and you may have longer period before you're hungry. But drink with lots of water so that water and fiber bind up in the stomach and stretch the stomach and cause you to be less hungry. Now, nuts can have a downfall, which is added sugar. So look at the label. If it says added sugar, put it back on the shelf and find one without added sugar. All nuts are healthy, but if you want the alpha-linoleic acid omega-3, walnuts are the way to go. Now, raisins. Again, you have to look for no added sugar, but raisins are loaded with potassium. And in this country, although we have a high sodium problem, we also have a very low potassium problem. So raisins are a great option. So a handful of raisins with a handful of nuts, maybe some dried fruits, which I'll talk about. Very fulfilling and unprocessed. Red wine. So when you eat grapes, what's in the skin, the purple skin, is what's healthy. But you'd have to eat 50 pounds of grapes to get what's in 4 ounces of red wine. So cultures that have 4 ounces of red wine in women, and sometimes in men up to 8 ounces a day, have better incidences of heart disease and cancer. So it can be a healthy part of your day. Now, if your sugar is uncontrolled, you don't have normal fasting sugars, your HbA1c, which is your 3-month mark of sugar, is high, then something with a lot of sugar like wine may not be right for you. So touch base with your doctor before starting a program like that. Lots of water. Our body's 85% water. So the engine's not going to run if we don't have 85% of our body full of water, if we're dehydrated. So if you're thirsty, drink, and have a liquid goal each day to make sure you're getting enough water. Now, figs, prunes, sweet potatoes, beans, oats, barley, great sources of soluble fiber. Now, dried fruits can have lots of nutrients and lots of soluble fiber. In fact, they did a study that figs were better for constipation than constipation medications like Colace. But they can have added sugar, so make sure you go to a website like nuts.com, or you go to a nice grocery store like Trader Joe's that has a focus on low sugar, and look at the label, and if it says no added sugar, it may have sugar because there's natural sugars, but if it has no added sugar is what you're looking for. And then it's all about portion size. So for me, I'll take a Ziploc bag, palm size full of walnuts, a couple raisins, maybe a Turkish fig, a dried apricot, a dried peach, a dried medjool date, which is delicious. And that little Ziploc will be an excellent option versus a cookie. Now, clams and mussels, they can be found very inexpensively. They have zinc and selenium, very good for you. The omega-3s, which are in salmon, we call them DHA and EPA, docosahexaenoic acid and icosapentaenoic acid. And these fatty acids, they prevent inflammation, heart disease, dementia. Very valuable. So this is my superfood page. These are things you want to focus on. And Every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or fighting it. All right, we're done with nutrition. Let's move on to move goals. Move and move often. You know, movement has been engineered out of our society. Let's take a look at like the automobile industry. You used to work at a car factory, you would pick up the fender, you'd put it on, you'd burn calories. Now you drive a robot that puts the fender on the car. So this subtle change in the amount of calories we expend times 7 days, times 4 weeks, times 12 months, times 10 years leads to a major weight gain. So I always had trouble prescribing exercise. I never knew how to say what to do, how much to do. But looking at the data, it's very clear. You only need 20 minutes a day. 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 of intense activity, which is 21 minutes a day of moderate walking. Right? Do that for you. That is your time. Be consistent. No matter what, every day get in those 20 minutes of moderate walking. Let's say you have a lunch break. Walk during your lunch break. That simple maneuver of 21 minutes a day of moderate activity gives you a 20% reduction in depression. And guess what? Guess how much your depression risk goes down if you take a Prozac or a depression medicine? About 30%. So you're almost as effective as taking a depression medicine just by getting 21 minutes a day of moderate activity. And a 20% reduction in heart disease. And what's great about this is going to higher levels of activity doesn't reduce that risk of heart disease anymore. It's pretty subtle, maybe some, but not that much. So you don't have to be on a treadmill at 6 miles an hour for an hour. You get almost the same cardiovascular benefit if you do 21 minutes of moderate activity a day. Now, you're not only going to look better, going to feel better. You ever feel a little bit uneasy at night, like anxious, maybe down? That's going to improve. Because when you exercise, you release enkephalins and endorphins, and these make your brain feel good. And the pleasure centers of your brain. You'll be able to pick up your grandkids better. You'll feel more awake. You'll sleep better. You'll feel better about yourself. Libido will improve. Overall health will improve. So how do you do it? Well, let's say you live on the 3rd floor. Don't take the elevator anymore. Walk the stairs. It might be hard, but it's for you. You're doing it for you. You're toning your muscles so they can utilize insulin better so you don't get insulin resistance and diabetes. Maybe buy a $10, $15 step counter and shoot for a step goal. You look at the step counter and it says 3,000, go for a walk. You got to get 7,000 a day. And once you get 7,000, feel free to move to 10,000. Pick your goals, but anything's better than what you were doing. If you have a local gym you can join or a community program, I got some phone numbers here of community programs that are available. They have aqua aerobics and things of that nature, but we also have great parks in the area. So you walk these parks for 20 minutes a day, especially if there's some incline where you get gravity working on your muscles. 20 minutes a day. We have one of the best zoos in the nation. Go walk Turtleback Zoo. It's full of hills. It's great for your body. But remember to bring lunch or bring a snack, because if you go to the cafeteria and buy the poison that they're selling you, French fries and a burger, you've undone any good that you did with your walking. And then maybe work in 2 times a week of 3 to 4 sets of 12 repetitions each of some resistance bands or small weights. Do a little shoulder, a little bicep curl, maybe squat down. You shoot for 12 reps, and when it gets too easy, go up on the weight and go to 9 reps and try to get back to 12. Because what they found is a combination of 2 times a week resistance training with the moderate activity gave you an additional cardiovascular benefit. All right, we're done with exercise. Let's move on to smoking cessation. So looking back at the last 50 years of smoking in the U.S., we have about 8 million U.S. lives lost directly from smoking. We know with the COVID epidemic, we're in the 600,000 mark for deaths. So figure 15 COVID epidemics worth of deaths from smoking. So the single best move for your health is to quit smoking. Better than exercise, better than medications, better than a good diet. You get a 36% reduction in cardiovascular events at the end of the first year of quitting smoking. So smoking, which unfortunately, nicotine is very addictive. We had a previous Surgeon General Coop, who stated that nicotine is more addictive than heroin. And some say it's the most addictive substance on the planet. But what the smoking does is it's a 2.5 times increased risk of heart disease, and that's the leading killer in men and women. The second leading cause of cancer, now all of us have a 40% lifetime risk to develop some type of cancer. And the second leading cause is 11-fold increased risk of lung cancer. So the second leading cause of cancer. You can reduce your risk by 11-fold of the second leading cause by not smoking. And 1 in 3 smokers die of emphysema. So picture 3 of you playing cards that are all smoking. 1 of you won't be able to breathe the last 10 years of your life and feel short of breath, which is not a good thing. All right, easy to say, but how do you do it? I just said it's the most addictive substance on the planet. Talk to your doctor. Call this quit line. They'll give you instructions. They'll give you referrals. There's nicotine replacement therapy. There's e-cigarettes. Now, e-cigarettes, they don't have the cancer-causing components that are in smoke. Now, nicotine still makes your blood pressure go up, but it's better than the alternative, which is real smoke. So really try to get away from the real smoke. And then there's medications that help with cravings. And then there's the cut down and quit philosophy. So if you smoke 10 cigarettes a day, maybe smoke 8 a day for a week, and then 6 a day for a week, and then 4 a day for a week, then 3 a day for a week, then 1 a day for a month, and then quit. And that will help you get away from the withdrawal that you'll get if you try to drop cold turkey. Because if you've been smoking for 10 years, I don't care if it takes you 2 months to quit, 3 months to quit, but cut down and quit. Think of the money you'll save. You'll be able to go on a nice Bahamas vacation every year without spending $12 a day on cigarettes. Your children will have a 3-fold increased risk of smoke if you're smoking, so you'll bring attention to that and minimize that risk. And you will be around an average of 10 more years if you quit smoking. So we live on average in the U.S. for 77 years. That's our average U.S. lifespan. And smoking on average takes away 10 years. Severe obesity takes away 12 years. Severe sleep apnea takes away 16 years without treatment. So when we're talking about a lifespan of 77 years, 10 years is 1/7 of your lifespan. Is there anyone here who doesn't want 1 more decade on planet Earth? Okay, and this next one is very near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, high blood pressure is known as the silent killer because you don't feel it. So you could have high blood pressure in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, and not feel it, and then you are damaging your blood vessels all those times. So we want to tell our friends and our families and ourselves to get a blood pressure check even if we feel good. And if it's high, there's ways to get it normal and prevent the damage of heart failure, stroke, blindness, heart attacks, and kidney disease. Did you know that African Americans have a 2-fold increased risk to get hypertension, high blood pressure, over whites? And even though African Americans only make up 13.2% of the population, they make up 35% of the dialysis population. And the reason is multifactorial, but we have to catch it in their 20s and their 30s and not wait until they present with kidney damage in their 60s. So go to your doctor, go to Rite Aid, go to Walgreens, get a blood pressure check. If it's high, let's treat it. Now, by the way, just walking is going to lower your pressure 4 to 9 points. That's an easy way to get your pressure down. Now, sleep apnea. Why do I talk about sleep apnea? You know, you hear your uncle snoring and everyone kind of laughs. He snores so loud we can't be in the same room as him. But guess what? He's not getting good oxygenation when he's not breathing well. And when oxygen's not going in the blood, your body releases cortisol and norepinephrine and all these stress hormones that make your heart work harder, your blood pressure go higher, and you're never resting, right? We go to sleep to rest, but when we do a sleep study on someone with severe sleep apnea, they may be waking up, even though they don't realize it, 60 times per hour. So you're never getting into REM sleep, and you're never going to feel good the next day. So believe it or not, severe untreated sleep apnea takes more years off your life than smoking. And that's why I want you to recognize it and get the test. So how do you do it? Well, if you have sleep apnea, you might feel tired during the day. People hear you snoring loud. They may hear choking while you sleep. They may hear restorative snorting, which is the kind of cartoon-like wake-up with snoring. You might have impaired concentration and memory. These are signs and symptoms, but this is the the screening tool. So if you have 3 of these, then ask your doctor for a snoring test. That's all you have to do. Do you snore loudly? Are you tired during the day? Has anyone witnessed you stop breathing while you're sleeping? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you obese? Is your age over 50? Is your neck circumference big? And are you a male? If you have 3 of those, get a test called a sleep study. We can do a home sleep study now where they mail you the kit and you sleep with it, and then you mail it back and they call you back. And if you have sleep apnea, they can give you what's called a CPAP. It's a little device that helps blow air in your nose, and it will prevent you from snoring, and you won't wake up 60 times an hour, and you'll feel better during the day, and your blood pressure may go back to normal, and you will add a decade or 2 onto your lifespan. So in summary, we got 4 ways to focus on improving our lifestyle and to have more successful aging healthfully. We got nutrition and avoidance of ultra-processed, low-nutrient foods. We have movement, move and move often. We want to cut out that smoking. That's the single best thing. And we want to make sure we don't have high blood pressure and sleep apnea and other things that we can treat early and prevent the damage to our bodies. Now, we're here for you at East Orange General Hospital. Call this phone number, and we can help you with metabolic weight loss programs. We have a dietitian who is phenomenal. She's brilliant and compassionate, and she'll take you and find a way to get you to goal. We have surgical bariatric services if you are interested in like a gastric sleeve for weight loss, and we can help you determine if that's the right thing. We have excellent gynecologic surgeons and doctors that can help with all the GYN needs. We have an internal medicine program that's excellent where we can do all of your blood pressure and cholesterol screening and talk to you about aging healthfully. So call this phone number and we'll be there for you. We also have a very easy to remember website, www.evh.org.